Hi everybody, this is Byron Lehman. Welcome to the Jittery Goat YouTube channel, and also you'll find my website at jitteryg.com. And I'm just taking a little break from my writing, and I thought I'd tell you a little bit about the first story that I ever had published. And just to kind of give you the backdrop of it is that oftentimes I like to write about farmers, because part of my life I was raised in a farming community when I was growing up. And so during the summer, when I was 13, 14, 15, 16 years old, early teenage years or middle teenage years, a lot of the guys around the area that I lived in, the neighborhood I lived in, rural neighborhood, we would bale hay in the summer. And sometimes you could you would bale hay and you'd bale straw too, and two, three cuttings of hay, and of course just straw once after the oats and the wheat was harvested. And so it was a good job for young men who were strong enough, and we'd have to handle bales maybe 75 to 80, 85 pounds each and stack them. I don't know, probably 8 or 9 high on the wagon. And it was good work in the summer, and good, honest work. Good times with some of the guys that I worked with, all friends, and so it was a good time. But like I said, it was hard work. There was this one particular farmer that used to pay really well, and he had a lot of acreage too. And so I remember we would. I remember one time we baled 2,650 bales, and he'd pay us a penny each for each bale. And so that would be $26.50. Uh, Not bad money for a kid. But more than anything else was his wife would make these incredible meals. I mean, really hearty meals. And of course, guys, we could just eat forever. And so they'd feed us a couple times a day, and we enjoyed that. And then we got paid, and we'd spend our money someplace foolishly. This one farmer, like I mentioned, I liked him pretty well, and I write a lot about farmers. And it seems like as I remember after I stopped working for him, got a job elsewhere, wasn't baling hay anymore, and his wife died. And can you imagine the tragedy that must have been for this close knit family? His children had all left home, and he was, I think he was in his 50s or maybe even his early 60s at that time. And must have been tough for him. And I guess I didn't appreciate the value of. I wasn't insensitive, but I never went over to talk to him after his wife died, nor did I go to the funeral. And I regret not doing that. So as life went on, I continued to think about this man, and of course the good times we had as guys working together in the fields and so forth. And I started thinking about him, and I thought I'd write a story about maybe what his life was like after he lost his wife. And so I named the character Chet Winters, and I liked the character so well I recycled him, and I do that a lot of times when I find a character I really like. I recycled him and I put him in another book, and I kept the name the same. I think the Chet Winters. And so, what was his life like after he died? Well, that's what I write this short story about. It's not a long short story. It's a short story, and it's called A Sunset for Claire. And what I'll do is after the video, I'll put a link back or down in the comments section so you can go to it. But like I mentioned, this was the first short story that I wrote, and like most short stories, you send them in to different publishers and literary magazines and so forth, and you get rejections. You expect it. Some of them were quite unkind, but what I did, I went back and I rewrote and edited them and so forth, and I thought I improved on it, and so I would send it to other publishers, and I'm going to say I probably sent it to maybe 6 or 7 publishers altogether, but I did send it to a friend of mine, and I emailed it to him. And so what happened was his wife accidentally opened up the email, and she thought it was a story about his family. And so she read it and she got to the end of the story and she began to cry. But then her husband said, no, no, that's a short story sent by Byron. And so anyway, that got all cleared up. It wasn't a family tragedy or anything like that. However, when they told me that she cried, at the end, it must have been believable, and it must have moved her emotionally. So I knew I had a good story. Eventually, a publisher, or rather a literary journal, picked up the story and said they would like to publish it. And so they said they'd pay me $10 and send me 3 writers' copies. And so after it was their fall issue or whatever, so a month into the fall, I got 3 copies of the journal, and indeed my short story was in there, and it was well presented and so forth. I was happy with that, and still no check, and I was expecting a $10 check somewhere along the line. And I waited, and I thought, well, they have to wait maybe until the revenue comes in before they can pay their writers. And I waited, and so several months into the winter, I sent them a letter, and I called, and of course the phone had been disconnected, and eventually I got an email saying that the magazine went out of business. So maybe it's my short story did that. I certainly hope not. But anyway, that's the story of the first short story that I was able to have published. And it was called A Sunset for Claire. And I hope you like it. And once again, this is the YouTube channel is The Jittery Goat. And also my website is jitteryg.com. And I hope you stop by and read some of my other short stories. But nevertheless, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a link below in the comments section, and just leave you with this little bit of advice. Read good stuff, write good stuff, and see good stuff in others, okay? So we'll catch you next time. Bye now.